for joining us. This is really great to get you on. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on some of this. So the first question we have for you is, some say that the idea of making money by selling the actual music is kind of dying out. It's harder and harder to make money from the content itself. How do you adapt to that?
I personally adapt to it by understanding that multiple streams are the way to go. I teach a lot when I'm on the road, you know, so I think, you know, there's a lot of guys out there that are in huge bands that are just kind of hurting because, you know, the tours aren't really happening as much. It's pretty obvious too. I think that yeah, it's most definitely hurting. You know, that I wouldn't say that's a lie, but what I do is, you know, I piece it all together and I teach and I just do whatever it takes to get out there and just to stay in the game. You know, that's the most important thing, I think.
Excellent. And in terms of the touring, is there more touring going on, or are tickets just harder to sell? Or
I think everything that has to do with music is hard to sell. I mean, I think that it's very noticeable how many tours are not happening. You know, so the fact that I'm about to be out for a few months here, and that's, I don't know, it's just weird to even say that. You know, there's a lot of bands that are full-time bands that are literally, instead of touring 9 or 10 months out of the year, they're touring, you know, 3 months out of the year, and that's kind of tough. So it's definitely hard, but I think people downloading definitely hurt it, but I'm not going to blame the downloaders. I think that the music industry kind of didn't really do itself a favor by, you know, adapting earlier on. You know, there are a lot of dinosaurs that basically, you know, in their offices, in their office chairs, kind of just watching things crumble, holding on to what they have, going out to lunch, all this kind of stuff, really. But I think that, you know, if iTunes would have happened, if they just would have taken Napster and made it iTunes, you know, we'd probably be in a different spot. But I mean, you know, not crying about it, you know, not really crying over it, because I really think that it's always been hard to make a living doing art and music, and if it wasn't hard, then everybody would be doing it, you know, so.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Now, next is a concept that we're calling brand idea, which is a little bit different from brand equity or brand identity. And we were inspired by this by Harley Davidson, of which I'm a huge fan, and I ride, and it's awesome. Go Harley! And so the idea, when you think about Harley, you think freedom, you think rebellion, and these are not concepts or feelings that they're actively pushing. They don't say in their advertising, Harley stands for freedom, right?
Yeah.
It's more subtle. It's more of an idea or a feeling that comes with the brand. So when people hear the name of your band, what do you want them to feel? What do you want that to evoke?
I mean, I guess it really depends on the band, you know. The work that I've done in the past with Doth, and that, you know, we'll be doing with Doth, it's, you know, it's kind of got its, I mean, it's, I don't know, it's kind of hard to really put a finger on exactly what I want the actual name to say, you know, but I mean, it's rock and roll pretty much. That's really the way that I look at it. And it's the same thing with Chimera. It's just, it's loud, heavy, it's awesome, and it's fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I mean, you know, I guess you could probably ask me that question like next year sometime if I have another project going on and the answer would totally change, you know? Right.
So it's trying to sort of embody all those things that rock does, that sort of that release. That
it's just a louder, heavier, you know, everything more extreme version of rock and roll. You know, that's the way I see it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Now, how have you handled the economic downturn? If we sort of say, okay, yes, the economy's bad, right, and we don't whine about it, but we say, all right, we're just going to deal with it. Is there any way to create an advantage in that kind of economy?
I think that I think now more than ever it's the right time to be out there, because if there are fewer people out there and it's harder, that means it should be easier to be noticed, right?
Right.
That's where I come from, at least. So the more this stuff keeps going downhill and the less people are out there, the less frequent more people are out there touring, then I just try to find a way to get out there even more. You know, it makes me want it even more, because it's going to really separate the lifers from the hobbyists, you know what I mean?
Good point.
You know?
Good point. So as you'll have a lot of different bands that are succumbing to the economic issues, the economic downturn, that's going to leave a very small group.
It's just, I mean, you know, like even with flying, you know, it's more expensive. Gas is more expensive than ever. I mean, it is literally just harder to travel these days, you know. So, yeah, I definitely just see it as an excuse to get out there and be more present, because then, I mean, there's fewer people out there, you know.
Right. Good point. I like that. Best answer I've had so far.
Sweet.
Now, what can musicians do to encourage their fans to kind of organize themselves? There's this perfected ideal that says maybe our fans will get themselves together and either maybe demand a show in a certain town, or or organize word of mouth campaign, different kinds of things. What can you do to encourage that?
I think what not to do is to fall into the cliche of being that mysterious person that's behind closed doors that has some sort of mystical power, because it doesn't exist anymore because of Facebook and all these other things. So I think that the guys the guys that have always been really successful in the past anyways have had more of a direct connect with their fans anyhow. And I think that and I think it's a positive thing. I think social networking has kind of like hurt the artists or the music's ego, because now everybody's humanized and nobody really truly is a rock star anymore, and which is fine, because that's all BS anyways, and it was always BS, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Skittles, separating colors of Skittles and things like that. I mean, that's just, I think that just staying more in touch with your fans and being more direct with them, because labels, when I do a record, it's just a calling card. You don't make any money off of that.
Right.
And even if it's successful, you're still talking. You've got, you do a record for a month or two out of the year, you've got 10 more months to worry about, So
Right.
I really think that, I think if somebody really wants to get a good foothold on their, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I guess just their fan base, and their demographic or whatever, I think it's just best to have, it's just like Experience here. Like, these are all people who are here for the guitars and the music. They love the guitars. I mean, it's like an addiction. It's crazy, and they could talk about them all day. And I think that...
and they do.
And they do, and that's kind of why this is a good thing. But it's a smart thing, because you got to give back a little bit to keep people, at your side, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So labels aren't really doing the things that they used to do, because there are fewer people working at labels, things like that. And the budgets are smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think that the best thing you can do is just get down on an eye level with people and, stay in touch with them like that. And it'll pan out,
Right, and then just let people do what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just got to give back a little bit, I think, you got to give people your time, and like I said, the whole rock star appeal thing, it's done for, and it should be that way anyways. It's stupid,
Yeah.
because we're all just, at the end of the day, we're all human, we're just trying to, I guess, make a living playing music, and that's kind of tough. It's like selling ice to an Eskimo, really, because it doesn't really exist. You can't hold it in your hand,
Right.
And it's all an opinion anyways. So some people think this is good, some people, think it's bad, whatever. But,
And you can't control that.
yeah,
All
you just
can
got
do is put it out there.
You got to find people that get it, and when you find a person that gets it, you got to hang on to them, and you got to give back a little bit and make sure that they keep getting it.
Well said. Now, there's certain states are considering taxing people based on the fact that they worked hours in that state.
Mm-hmm.
And California was one that's doing this. And from what we understand, there's certain states are already sort of doing this to musicians here and there already, but they're talking about expanding that and doing it to
Great.
everybody, right? And so it's like, no matter where you live, at the end of the year, if you worked 10 hours in California, you'd pay California taxes on the money you made on those 10 hours.
Yeah.
What kind of nightmare would that be for the touring musician?
It would be nothing new. It'd just be another notch in the belt in nightmare land. It's a pain in the ass. It really. It's just being self-employed. It's just like it's like owning a business, and and starting a business, and that's the funniest thing. That at the end of the day, if you really look at it, musicians they're artists, and it's silly, because we're kind of dumb, uneducated when it comes to that topic of that subject.
Business side
ignorant,
yeah.
not dumb. That's the wrong word, but it's a silly thing, because really it's just like running your own business, and that's, a lot of people don't really understand that, and a lot of people don't make decisions based on that, like down all the way to how you present yourself and everything, and how you behave, and what just the small day-to-day choices you make and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, if that did happen, it would just be like, oh well, what else is new? You know, that'd be like you telling me that they're gonna charge for an extra bag on the
Right.
at
Yet
the
another
airport.
thing to deal
It's just
with.
like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, there we go. Because, like I said, it's just a form of promotion. You know, if somebody sees your face and your name, more than X amount of times, you're creating a brand, right? And so, really, that's all I really see. That's what I see. That's how I see touring, so to say. You know what I mean?
Right. So that would make it difficult from the tax. Now you have to be an accountant among.
Yeah.
All right, our last one is when you come into a town, what do you do in that town, or what can you do to drum up that local interest in that local event and get everybody connected?
You just gotta build it. You just gotta, the ideas. I mean, because literally, when you're younger and you see a band that you like, you think that people just go to the show because they bought the CD. When really, you go and you actually build that fan base yourself. It is true. That's one thing that I learned. When I first got into really touring was you want to see more and more of your T-shirts in the audience. You want to open for a bigger band. You want to just pull people in, and it's branding. It's just like it's like any sort of business, like a soft drink company, anything. Like you really have to pull people in to what you're doing and the way that you do it. And I think that what was the question again? Sorry.
It was what can you do to get those people excited locally and get them to
I think to really create hype for yourself, I think you gotta build it and you gotta hit the town over and over again, and you just can't let up. It's just like that's the truth. Yeah, you gotta be persistent, and like I said, it's you play and you're new and you're playing to, you have 10 or 15 fans show up that really do, and you see 10 or 15 of your own shirts. You come back again, hopefully you see 30 to 60, 100 maybe. Come back again, then you get up to the point where you're 5 day 100, you do it around the world. That's what people do,
It sounds like it's really it's very similar to building up your following on social media. You keep posting, you keep talking, you keep putting it out there.
It's true.
You keep doing it, and more and more people start
It's a snowball
following.
effect, yeah. But it's just like any startup company. I think it's like it's gonna. Sometimes it's just not gonna move. Sometimes you gotta go elsewhere to find that demographic, to find your crowd. That's why sometimes you feel better about playing in places like Europe. I think people are not as jaded artistically there, and I think that they actually listen to what you're doing. Where in the States, at least in a band, it's more about popularity and it's more about, hey, I was there last night, bragging rights and things
the
like that.
social experience.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's everybody. I just feel that way when I play to the people. Everywhere is different, but I definitely see it as. I think there are other places that are less jaded than the States in that way. So you really just got to keep it hard,
So do you feel like you end up finding that the particular towns are more receptive? That
You can see,
like,
oh
this
yeah.
is my town.
Oh yeah, there's certain places that I have played at where it's way obvious that, oh, okay, we're going to. I mean, just think about it, like a hometown show. That's usually going to be your huge, show where it's going to be good. The people are going to freak out. It's going to be great.
Right.
It's the same.
He's from here.
Yeah, and there's places that you dread playing too. And there's also places like that'll surprise you. But you can usually tell right off the bat when you're on stage, just the way people are accepting it or not.
The feel of this vibe.
Yeah, you can tell by the vibe right when you get out there if they like you or not.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, Emil. This has been a thrill to get you on the show.
Respect.